Coming at you from Story Mode. We got another episode of the podcast. You know you love it. Little bit of stuff today. Just finished download for Call of Duty Warzone. So I'm stepping into this for the first time. Hoping to enjoy it. Hoping to kick some ass. Maybe get some talent pride action going.
This contract's objective is to open 3 loot caches.
It's a no-frills battle
Accepting the
royale.
contract has marked supply boxes on the map for you.
Call of Duty did a good job on this one.
Contract updated. New objective identified. Take any loot you want. Otherwise, I've got to clean this mess up myself.
Character selection or building or anything, or people doing really crazy stuff. You gotta worry about helicopters and shooting people. Generally.
Notice supply boxes make a distinct sound when you're close.
The only battle royale I've played is Fortnite, and I didn't care a whole lot.
Nice.
Not that I'm trying to be like one of those
skills are remarkable.
PUBG snobs, but
proceed to the next area.
It's definitely one of the best games out there, but you know, it's just it's either your taste or it's not. The only thing about Fortnite. Seeing people being able to build like superstructures in a very, very quick amount of time.
Oh yeah, dude, like somebody shoots a rocket at you, you're like, oh shit, pop up a building.
Right. Exactly. There's some people like that. I don't. I would rather just like, but and I just popped one of these sour head things. I forgot how sour they were. It smacked me right in the taste bud.
Loot and cash are not found inside. Search for some cash.
Today, continuing our 4-part Deadpool series. This is part 3. Continuing where we left off on that, on a few things. But before we get into any of that stuff, there's one thing I wanted to talk about. Well, I guess before I should say, like I said, I'm doing Warzone. I think Nocturnum is doing a little of the Resident Evil 2 remake at the moment.
Oh yeah, if you don't mind, I'll touch on that real quick. Just about
go for it.
Curious that hasn't played it yet.
Look inside the building for cash.
For as long as it has been out, which surprised me, but very well done remake. And if you want to get the shit scared out of you, and you want to get your ass kicked all at the same time, and you want to bash your head against a brick wall while the zombie eats it, go ahead and do what I did and buy Resident Evil 2 and play it on hardcore difficulty your very first time playing through. Big mistake. I've been up against it here, but it's. Stop! I highly recommend this game. But no, as for the comment that I was going to make before your podcast.
Well done, mate.
Yes.
Cash can be used at buy stations.
I'm in the
buy
next
kill
lab
streaks
now,
and other special items.
If anybody's ever
Buy
played
stations are marked on the
it
map.
follows the same storyline, has different puzzles and such, and a few different elements, but for the most part, it holds true to the original story. The game. And this is also where the G-Virus comes from. I just
Buy
walked into an
stations
office,
allow you to
and the
bring
first thing
teammates
I
back
thought
from the
was
dead.
looking around,
Purchase
it's like,
kill
wow, these
streaks
people
and
actually
more.
might have deserved the
Purchase a loadout drop
They've
mark.
got strawberry and grape jelly on top of a microwave next to some beer. Like who eats like jelly toast and then just decides to chug a few beers? That's not even human. Pretty sure they turned before the virus even got out.
Use the buy station and buy a loadout drop marker.
So I got somebody letting us know that the game volume on my Warzone is a little bit overwhelming. So I'm gonna drop that down just a hair.
Oh, whoops.
No, I mean it should be fine. I'm just glad that someone noticed it this early.
From the buy station.
Right on.
So, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Nothing, I was just making snide remarks about the office layout.
Use the buy station and buy a loadout.
Okay. Also, me and Octane, we've known each other for several years now. We've had a lot of, crazy conversations about different stuff. And one of the things that we always kind of keep coming back to, no matter what the environment and what's going on, is a theory that I think has intrigued us both. And that's the multiverse theory.
Oh yeah.
Which I've always thought was really cool. It's a very interesting concept.
Use the buy station and buy a
Yeah,
loadout.
very provocative. And it
Grab a
definitely likes
loadout
to tease
drop
the
marker from the
imagination.
buy
For sure.
station.
Hold on one second. I'm having a little. This training, the way that the language they're using here is so weird.
Buy a
Purchase a
loadout
loadout
from the buy
drop
station.
marker. Oh, okay. I got you.
Nicely done.
Got it.
Now call in a loadout drop and stand clear of the smoke.
And I'm gonna drop
You
this
know what?
volume
You
down
just-
just a little more.
Yeah, you know what's funny there, Benicio? You just stumbled into one of the things that I tend to criticize Call of Duty for, even though it's still it's a very well made franchise. They do tend to be overly tactical with their wording.
Right. I think this game also just has
Alpha 2 drop Delta 6 location.
very loud audio. Okay, but as I was saying, you know, we've discussed all different types of, like, you know, multiverse theories and string theories and a lot of just crazy stuff that goes on with that in that area of theoretical physics. And when you start getting into that, you know, it's crazy because you're like, you know, because the concept of it is, you know, that there's infinite universes just like this one, and you know, and the closer they are or whatever, you know, there's slight differences, things like that. You know, so it's like, what about the right? So it's like, what about the reality where Hitler cured cancer, you know, or the reality where America lost the Revolutionary War, things like that. And
Right, well, see, the basis of it is pretty much anytime there's a choice, for each choice there could spawn a different universe, if you will. But
right.
also, just a side note before you get too deep into it, one of the things me and Benicio like to do is we also like to come up with our own theories that fit within the science fields and the quantum fields of these studies.
Thank you.
It's just fun. It's good. It's a good thing. It's a good, intriguing thing to get into. Is like to come up with your own theories, see if they match, you know, the science behind the theories once you've made them.
Understood. Well done, mate. You can also ping hostile areas for your team.
Definitely.
Is that what you brought me in here for today, man? You got a new theory for me?
I do.
Nicely done.
And this kind of stems from one of the older theories we discussed before, and I guess we should probably touch on that. There is one theory out there that, and also I should say that, you know, these aren't necessarily, oh, I hardcore believe this theory. It's just more of a, oh, what if? It's kind of fun to think about.
Right, for sure.
But there's one we've discussed before that has to do with dreaming.
Oh man, there's another way. I don't know how we've been discussing that for years.
Yes. Basically, like, let's say, what if, you know, when you went to sleep and you started dreaming that these things that you are dreaming are not just random, you know, leftover stuff or whatever from your brain or whatever it is that, you know, they say dreaming is.
Instead of just like random neuron firing and interpretation by the brain, it could be a window into.
Yeah, like let's say that, like, when you dream, that's you kind of viewing, like one of your other selves in another reality, in an alternate universe, and that's their life. You're kind of like seeing things through their eyes, which, you know, and once again, that kind of gets somewhat blown to bits when you think about, you know, what about the dream I had where I was flying a spaceship made of Fruit Loops, you know, like.
Well, hey man, that's
something crazy.
That's why it's an infinite theory. Also, I'd like to note that me personally, I particularly think like the more vivid the dream is, the closer that reality is to yours. You know,
right?
Like the science will say that if there are multiverses, a lot of them are stacked on planes very close to each other, and some of them are very far. Like the closer they are, the more vivid the dream, because hey, that just happened in the reality next door, if you will.
Right. Okay. So also, as far as saying that mainstream science doesn't really know a whole lot about sleep at all. You know, if you get on Google and you start looking into like stuff like why do we have to sleep, the only real answer you're going to get is because you're sleepy.
Right.
You know, like we don't really understand sleep, and we act like we do. You know,
it's part of the circadian rhythm. It's part of rest and restoration. It allows your chemicals to balance back out. But other than that, I mean, isn't there a process we could do besides sleep that would also do that? Like exactly the function of sleep is still yet to be 100%.
Right. And it's crazy that this doesn't come up in conversations more, like, because we don't really understand sleep. We just don't. It's just we get tired, and we know that if we sleep, we'll be less tired. And we know.
Oh man, here's a funny thought for you. The first person to ever experience sleep, imagine what they thought. Like, oh no, I'm dying. This is it.
And they wake up. Oh fuck.
What was that? Wait, I'm alive.
Or imagine the other guy that was there that hadn't fallen asleep yet, and he's seen it. Like, dude, get up.
Don't you die on me now, you bastard. Thump.
Right.
No, this is oddly pleasant. Let me go back to this, whatever I'm doing.
Check your gear and weapons.
I'm actually mad, and I don't know why I'm angry that you've disturbed my rest.
Right. And then you have the old people sitting around being like, yeah, back in my day, you know, we did this, and these kids, they're just sitting around rotting their brains, laying in the damn sleep mode all day. But, so here's my what if. Okay, so what if you go to sleep, and let's say that these different realities are tuned to, like, emotional frequencies. Okay, so let's say you go to sleep, and depending on your emotional frequency, that kind of like assigns you to your reality for the dream world and for the day, like when you wake up.
Playtime's over, mate. You're going to the war.
Like there's X amount of vessels, X amount of souls or whatever, and so it's like which Benicio am I gonna wake up as? You know. And
so wait, are you saying that whenever we go to sleep, our emotional frequencies tune us into whatever reality we're going to wake up in, or whatever reality that we're going to dream?
Wake up in.
Oh wow.
But what I'm really saying is that it's like you go to sleep, and based upon like your actions and your emotional frequency, that would determine which reality you woke up in. So like,
yeah,
and let's say that each reality has like a thing that, you know, more people has like a, you know, like more people that are very kind, you know, go to this reality, or people that are very intelligent go to this one, and people that are very cruel go to this one. And everything you do throughout your day determines where you're going to wake up tomorrow.
And you know what? Though that makes a decent amount of sense when you talk on the terms of perpetuation. For instance, evil people perpetuate evil, so they continually wake up in evil existence. You know,
right?
Like a serial killer doesn't just wake up one day and decide, you know, oh hey, I'm not, and also it also makes me think about, like, you know, depending on how you wake up. Like some days I wake up and I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I'm here. Some days I wake up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great day.
Right.
You know, and if that is key to your emotional frequency and what reality you wake up into, so you gotta keep in mind that these realities are so similar. A lot of people bring up memories, you know, like, well, no, I remember what happened yesterday, I remember what happened the day before, I remember what happened 2 years ago. Well, these realities could be very, 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 very similar.
Right.
There's only one thing different. And, you know, like, also, I believe that your theory could be expanded into the collective conscious, because if you think about the Mandela effect and stuff, like there's personal shit, and then there's a group shit too, because there's a lot of people that remember things, and a lot of people say, well, the Mandela effect is simply you know, a group of people misremembering something. But here's the problem with that. Not only is a group of people, a very significant group of people misremembering, they're misremembering the exact same way. Now, if somebody misremembers, the individual would misremember it differently than each other individual. But if 10,000 people remember the exact same series of events happening, that doesn't sound like a misremembering. That sounds like a shift in reality states.
All right.
Right.
And if everyone's just been kind of bouncing around different realities their whole lives, you know, it makes a little bit more sense to say Mandela effect. Why these people remember, you know, certain things, you know, and these people remember the other things. And
And
you know,
you know, just
and
while,
I was just gonna say, and also like on top of that, like what if, you know, like when, like let's say you're having a day and you're very, very angry, you know, and then you go to sleep and you wake up and like, and it's not just you, it's, you know, it's like that's the reality that people are kind of shifted to in their, yeah, on that emotional frequency. So like you're put with other people that are on this same emotional frequency that you are.
right, and that would also make sense once again back to perpetuation, because a lot of the times, like if you ever had a really bad day, and no, you know, not to bring this up, but both of us had a bad day yesterday, you know, and it just seemed like everybody in that reality was having a bad day that day. So I mean, that would make sense. Now, I would like to expound a little bit on your theory, though, if you wouldn't mind.
No, go for it.
Alright, so I'm not so sure that it's necessarily, you know, waking up in a different reality. It's more of, like I said, once again, going back to the collective conscience. Like, if you wake up angry, you're in tune to more angry stimulus, more angry people in the same reality. It's the one we all share right now. And that would also make sense, like, you know, like whenever there's like for instance, a mass panic or something, people can feel anxious. Some people that don't even know what's going on in the world just feel anxious. It's like there's a Star Wars reference here, like a disturbance in the force of the world. And some people pick up on that without even knowing what's going on in the outside world. So those frequencies do get emitted for sure.
Right.
But so your theory is when you go to sleep and you dream, and whatever emotional state you're in gets projected, and that basically rolls a number generator, if you will, and that's the reality that you wake up into.
I mean, essentially.
Right.
And it's just it's just based on your state of mind. It's based on your mental fortitude, right, if it were, you know.
Well, the wisest people always say that what you feel is what you project into the universe. You know, there might be a lot more grit to that than we ever realized.
Right. You know, and also it's worth saying, like, you know, I wouldn't even say that this is my theory. Right. You know, this isn't something that I'm like, oh yeah, dude, this is what I believe. You know, like it's just a fun, you know, like.
No, but the good thing about our conversations here, and you know, I wish more people engaged in them. It's not so much about what you believe in; it's just about provocative thought.
Exactly.
Let's follow that rabbit hole and see where it leads. Even if it disagrees with your beliefs, follow the rabbit hole just to see where your brain takes you. It's a fun exercise.
Right.
Like I hate math. I'm actually really good at math, but it frustrates me, and I don't see a point to it. But you know, I'll still engage in it because it's good exercise.
Right.
So now that you've postulated that theory, I'd like to see. I've never had the chance to say one of my theories on one of your podcasts, if you wouldn't mind.
No, man, run with it.
All right. So I came up with this about 8 or 9 years ago, back when I was in college, and I've been expounding on it. And what really shocked me too was that there is actually an anime out there, and it's called The Place Promised in Our Younger Days. First time I ever watched it, it was almost as if like I projected my theory out into the universe, and it answered with this, you know, movie that they made, and it was revolving around the quantum science involved in dreaming. But my theory originally was that the reason dreams are experienced, you know, the first question I ask myself is, you know, why do we even dream? Like, you mean to tell me that the random firing of electrons interpreted by our sensory system actually is able to create a vivid and sometimes even an accurate, like, storyline of events that happens within a dream? Because I've had dreams where it was a brief moment in time, and I've had dreams that lasted, that I felt like I'd experienced almost an entire lifetime within that dream. Now, how is it that our brain's able to interpret random firing signals as such a complex and evolving storyline as a dream?
Hey, sorry to cut you off. Hold 1 second. I gotta go check something out really quick. I'll be right back. Sorry, everybody.
All right.
Okay, I'm back. Everything's good. So feel free to continue.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to get overly winded here, but my theory was, you know, and like it was kind of the basis of yours as well, is that dreams are windows into alternate realities.
Right.
Now, how many times, let me ask you this, and this is also the question that helped me evolve this theory. How many times have you had a dream in which you were somebody other than yourself?
Right.
In most of my dreams, me personally, and most people that I talk to about dreams, you know you're you, right? You're not usually someone else. You're like, oh, okay, this is me, this is happening, this is reality, you know. Now, there are a select few people that can lucid dream, and I envy those people. You know, they can realize they're dreaming and then control their dream state, but you're usually you, right, in these dreams. And what is happening to you usually has some sort of significance. Now, this is the thing about dreams, is that even when the most randomly chaotic shit is happening in these dreams, I've always interpreted them as significant. Like the emotions you feel in these dreams, even if it's completely idiotic. If you're, like you said, flying a spaceship made out of Fruit Loops, there's emotion attached to that. So my theory was that these dreams, and another thing to expound upon that, is that most nights you don't remember your dreams, only sometimes you do, right? The ones you remember were the particularly strong emotional waves you project, right? So these dreams that you're having, if your self in another reality had a particularly very emotional or vivid moment at the time that you're sleeping, that is what the dream becomes. And yes, as crazy as it sounds, I believe there may be realities out there where flying around a spaceship made out of Fruity Pebbles would be normal.
Right. And that's essentially a large premise to Rick and Morty.
Right. But yeah, my original theory was that when you sleep at night, in the dreams particularly that you remember, are yourself in a different dimension or a different universe, if you will, having a very vivid and intense emotional moment. So I like to think, you know, when you have a really emotional moment in this reality that you currently exist in, just think that maybe there's a you out there that's sleeping, that's dreaming about what you're doing right now.
Right.
Because like I said, I've had dreams, man, that spanned an entire lifetime. Like I was young and, you know, I've gotten married, I've had a whole life, and how does one experience an entire lifetime in an 8-hour sleep cycle?
Oh yeah, like, man, I've had dreams that spanned, you know, what seemed like, you know, years, and like all types of like crazy events, like life-shattering things would happen, and it's like, okay, this is how I'm going to have to go about my life now because of these things. And then like then you wake up and you're like, oh, never mind. Like,
and here's also an interesting take, right? So there's a lot of when I say a lot of people, I use a lot of generalizations. I apologize. I don't have a substantial vocabulary. There are people in the world that have prophetic dreams, and some of these dreams actually do come to pass, or at least like similar events will happen. I've personally had a couple of dreams. Like, for instance, about 6 years ago, I had a dream that I had no idea what I was actually in, but it was something I was driving and or operating, and the front of the vehicle was a solid glass piece that I could see out, and it was just really weird. And I also remember in this dream, like stepping out of the side of it. I'm like, what in the world was that? You know, 6 years later, my job, you know, I ended up being a city bus driver, which, if you've ever driven a city bus, you know, you sit above the front wheels, and it's basically like having a glass box in front of you, and you also exit out of the side. Now, how is it that these happen? Well, these alternate timelines and or alternate dimensions, alternate realities, whatever you want to call them, they not only do they exist in different realities, but they exist in different times too. Basically, one of them could be 6 or 8 years ahead, and you in that reality have made a lot of similar choices that you're making in this reality. Therefore, they parallel each other, and you have a dream about it.
Right.
Now, I know none of that probably makes any sense, but it's still fun to just think along those lines.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But I will tell you this, and I have one very decisive statement to make, that if dreams really are windows into alternate realities, then the reality that we collectively share here is nowhere near as fun or nowhere near as terrifying as it could be.
Absolutely.
I've had dreams where I could freely fly about, and I've had dreams where I was chased by a completely obscure monster that I was terrified of, and I had no idea. I couldn't even use human language to describe what it looked like. You know what I mean? So
also,
we're kind of in a neutral zone here.
Also, that being said, it could just be that that's just where we are. It's just what we're used to. It's not terrifying or fantastic to us because it's the everyday, you know. Like to kind of paraphrase this bit that from a Joe Rogan stand-up a few years ago they did. He was like, we don't talk about the things we need to talk about. And he was like, just think about this. He's like, we are sitting on a rock that's just rocketing through space.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Flying around
Very
us,
fast.
flying around the sun, spinning. And the huge flaming ball in the air kills you if you look directly at it, gives you vitamin D, and if it goes away, you get depressed.
Get yourself sorted. We'll be quite short.
And it never comes up. It never comes up. He's like, it's freaky, man. Like,
right. No, I mean, yeah, but like I said, once you stand back and objectively think about it, it is pretty freaky.
yeah.
I mean, think about it, dude. It's exactly what he said. We're on a gigantic ball of light that somehow has an atmosphere, it has oxygen, and it has a magnetic field. We're spinning very fast. We're spinning at roughly about 1,000 miles an hour. And, you know, I believe the circumference of the Earth is around 25,000 miles, and you know, we rotate through that in a 24-hour period. So we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're hurtling at, I don't even know the speed, very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And somehow you can walk outside and you can see this gigantic ball of fire that's absolutely leaking about our atmosphere. You can see the diversity of species, bird chirping in that street, completely unaware that they are on a very violent looking marble that is just hurtling and spinning through space.
Yeah.
And somebody else from a different reality, completely different set of paradigms, were to experience that would blow their mind. They're like, what in the world is this?
Right. But like, dude, this is insane. And have you seen these people? They consume food by putting it in their mouths. They're made out of meat.
So hey, this isn't even about alternate reality, but it's just another like provocative, like not even a theory, but just an idea that I've came up with. What is it to you that our solar system and a lot of other solar systems out there, what do they resemble? If you think about it, you've got a sun in the middle that doesn't really move. I mean, we're all moving, but
right, but relatively.
And it's got orbiting bodies, and it's got smaller orbiting bodies, and those orbiting bodies have orbiting bodies, but it's all in a circular, and somehow it's very stable. All of these gravitational plays, and all of these moving parts, and all of these massive bodies are all stable for a very long time.
The first thing that comes to mind with me is atoms.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The solar system is an atom, and we've already proven just how big the universe is microscopically as well as macroscopically. So, is it really beyond the realm of thought to think that we are part of a cosmic atom? Now, here's the thing: those cosmic atoms, those solar systems, you know, they all collect and they all become what? A galaxy. Now, what is the galaxy? Like, the galaxy could be a very big molecule. Right. It's a chain of solar systems. You know, hundreds of millions of solar systems all chained together, orbiting the center of mass. You know, and there's how many billions of other galaxies in our observable universe. So what if we're all just part of a gigantic organism?
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. But the universe itself is actually a lot. People are always like, is there life outside of our planet? Is there life out there in the universe? Well, what if the universe itself is a living creature and we just happen to be a single atom? And here's the thing, too, right? Atoms, the electrons and neutrons and such, and the core of an atom, they all spin very quickly to our perception, right? They're moving very, very, very fast. So what would be a second for us, if their time was dilated to their own movement, would be a second for us would be years and years for anything that was actually existing on an atom. So, people were like, well, if the universe is living, why doesn't it seem to notice us? Well, that's because if we are part,
yeah, I mean, do you notice? Do you notice? No, but I understand what you're saying. Like, do you notice the electrons in your water? No.
Right.
You don't.
Right. Like yeah, the time dilation of us existing. If our solar system were an atom, our perceived movement, our solar cycle, we orbit the sun every 365 days. Okay, in real time, an electron orbits a neutron so fast that we can't even, pretty much at the speed of light, as far as I know. Right. So, to us, there would be no way to observe anything going on within that atom because it's too fast for us. Same thing could be said of the universe. If the universe itself is a living creature, we're moving so fast that it doesn't perceive. Like hundreds of thousands of years will go by, and it'll be like a second, right?
Right.
And that's also how like a lot of scientific concepts happen. Like evolution happens, or adaptation happens very slowly, and so lunar cycles and all that, they all happen very slowly. Which would, like I said, I don't mean to go completely off tangent here, but I love thinking within these realms of science because
absolutely,
it postures more questions than it answers. And to me, that's always fascinating. That no matter how advanced our civilization becomes, the more knowledge we have, the more questions are open, and the more knowledge we find, the more difficult and the more complex the answers become.
Yeah.
And the questions, they have to become more complex. So, acceptance to me is the easiest thing. You can just accept the reality you're in, or you can question it and have some fun with it.
Right.
Unfortunately, none of us have figured out how to actually manipulate it quite yet. Now, if you ever find out a way of an ECO to manipulate reality, let me know.
I definitely will.
All right. But anyways, I've run off the tangent long enough. Let's go back to your theory, man. You got anything else to expound on it?
I mean, not specifically. I'd really just kind of thought of like the basic concept of it, and I was like, oh, I really want to go with Nocturnum about this. Like,
yeah, you want to tell your friend Nocturnum about it, so he goes on a 30-minute rant.
Well, not even necessarily that. It's just I'm just saying, like, because there's a few people that you could discuss things like that with that would even fully appreciate it.
Right.
It's just more of like, like what if you woke up, like you slowly, over time become more bitter, more cynical, more angry, more hateful, and you keep, like waking up in these realities where those things are more and more the norm, and more casual, until you end up in these like political dystopias, or like super fascist.
And what if what you're saying is also like there's a collective effort there. If we're all doing that collectively without even knowing it,
right?
It could be propelling our own reality into a worse and worse spot. But here's my problem with that theory. Here's the one drawback so far that I have of it, and that, what does that mean for control? Like, everybody wants to believe that they're in control of their own reality. If you say project those feelings out and it happens and you wake up in that reality, then that also shows that there's nothing you can do to really control it.
See, actually, I disagree. I think that it indicates that we are in more control than we would have ever thought. Because the more you self-improve, and the more you meditate, and the more at peace you become with yourself, the better reality you wake up in tomorrow.
But I guess what I'm saying is, well, let's just look at me personally. Like, I can't speak for anyone else. I can speak for myself, right?
Right.
You said, meditation and self-improvement will help, will help you wake up into a better reality each time. Now, a lot of these precursors they come, a lot of these emotions, for instance, like anger and sadness and depression. A lot of the times, man, it's like these are biochemical reactions in which conscious thought has no effect on them. Right? You can choose to control what you do with anger and how you express anger, but you can't control the biochemical firing that makes anger happen.
No.
So
forgiveness and piety or piousness or whatever, and peace and those things, you can't control them. You can control the path you're on to get toward them.
Right. And that what I was just talking about also goes into like what we know what consciousness is and what exactly is it. I feel like we're not yet to the point of mastering our own consciousness. But
not at all. Not at all.
I would really like to be able to, because if you could master your consciousness, imagine if you could consciously heal yourself, if you could consciously cancel those misfiring chemicals in the brain. Like people with really bad depression. I speak out for this because, there's a lot of the times there's nothing you can do to really control it. I mean, they can give you medications to try to right the imbalance, but those usually end up not working over time. They'll work in the short term, not the long term. So why is it then, here's another question for you to come up with a theory, right? I'm not really expounding on your theory, but help me develop a theory for this. Why can we not control our bodily functions with the most powerful form of our brain being the consciousness,
Right.
Consciousness is a very powerful thing. Look what we've done with it. We've built, skyscrapers. We build 1,000-ton buildings made out of steel and earth, and we make combustion automobiles that propel you forward by controlling explosions. That's what consciousness has done for us. But for some reason, we still can't seem to control our own bodies. Our own bodies are like mutinous. A lot of people develop, cancers. They develop leukemia. They develop brain tumors and stuff like that. And these are otherwise, good people. Why can't we control it yet?
Right.
We can control our reality around us. We can control our reality around us, but we cannot control the reality within us.
Yes. I would say the closest humanity is that would be the Tibetan monks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They are
Yeah,
definitely
those
on
guys
the
are
right
fascinating.
track. They're definitely on the right track as far as that type of thing. They
Right.
can.
But I mean, it also just takes 70 years of
Right.
isolation and 18 hours of meditation a day.
Right.
It seems to me though, then that consciousness, unfortunately, even though I just said it was a very strong force, it also seems to be a very weak force.
Right.
Like the four main forces of the universe. And I'm not going to go ahead and say them because I actually don't remember them all. But I know there's like the weak force, strong force, gravitational force, stuff like that.
Right.
And our consciousness seems to be a very weak force. It's more of a window into manipulation than it is actual change. And I know that didn't probably make any sense, but
No, I completely understand. I get it.
Speaking on Tibetan monks, there is one fascinating case that I found. A lot of people don't know about this case, but I believe this monk, he died in meditation. And for some reason, his body is still not fully decomposed. It's almost like he halted his own decomposition. Have you heard of this one?
I have not.
Yeah, I believe the corpse is somewhere in a market of 70, 80 years old, and it still has not deteriorated. Like, you can obviously tell that it's
right.
That it has started
it's got like rigor mortis and things like that, but it's not a skeleton like it should be.
Yeah, right, exactly. And feel free to look this up right now because I believe he's actually on display. But that's the weird part about it is that somehow he died within a meditative trance, and his body 80 years later is not even decomposed. Like that right there, that is physical manipulation.
Yes.
Somehow he has manipulated his body's reality, his body's biochemical structure to weather what would normally decay. I mean, think about it. Normally in 80 years, you'd be bones. If not, your bones are already turning to dust within 80 years. I mean, it's pretty fascinating. And he wasn't embalmed either. So.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, but that's what I'm saying is where we are now. that monk probably spent his whole life disciplining himself and meditating only to get that far. When are we going to unlock the potential to actually reverse things with our own conscious mind? I mean, like I said, how cool would it be? Like, oh, you found out one day you have cancer, and if you dwelt on that, and if you used your consciousness to actually program your own cells. Imagine being able to manipulate your own cells, being like, okay, hey, stop that. You know, stop doing the mass replication, and be able to alter the DNA within those cells to return to normal function. What surprises me is why we're not able to do that. Like, why is there a barrier between being able to manipulate our body?
Well, I think that the main answer to that question is because there's no conscious effort. We don't attempt to do that.
Right.
We don't attempt to fire those neurons. No one tries to self-heal. Like, you just wait to heal. Like, maybe there's, for all we know, we have this amazing power source, and we don't understand the power behind it because we don't use it.
Well, the reason I was steering this into an actual direction here, the reason I brought all of this up and why we can't yet. If you look at certain species that have been around a lot longer than us, like like lizards, plant life, I want to say aqueous creatures, because my brain is not
aquatic.
Yeah, you see a lot of organisms out there that can do some amazing things.
Yeah.
All right? But that's because they've been adapting and because they've been evolving for a lot longer than we have. So if we can stick around longer, right now, we're at the top of the food chain because of our consciousness. When our bodies catch up to that, who knows? 100,000 years from now, we may very well be able to manipulate our own bodies. We may very well be able to regrow hairs, not just using technology.
Right.
But honestly, I just wish I was born in a different time. I think anybody with thoughts like this probably wants to be more developed and see what our civilization is actually capable of.
I think that's something that's going to exist no matter what time period it is. I mean, look at people like Nikola Tesla. I mean, clearly that man, had some type of desire to, like, man, if this was 100 years later, like, people would be like, Elon who? I mean, I'm not down to Elon. He actually is a huge fan of Nikola Tesla. I mean, which is why they have the car, the Tesla. But I mean, I just think that that's going to be a common thing, no matter what, because no matter how well we're doing, there's always going to be visionaries. There's going to be people ahead of the curve that are like, man, if they're going to be able to see ahead, like, oh man, in 100 years and 50 years and 20 years, look what we're going to be able to do.
Well, but yeah, and you know what though, you're right, but I have a very unpopular opinion. Like, usually when I say this, people give me a weird look, but you've heard of the Dark Ages, right?
Yeah.
Well, whenever I get into the conversation about where our society is going technologically and how advanced we've become, I like to say that we are currently in a technological dark age. What does that mean? People are like, huh? Well, what that means is right now, in the last 50 or so years, actually more than that, probably in the last 100 years, we have made a lot of technological advancements. Yes. But here's the problem, is that those technological advances could be a lot better, and they are a lot better, but we're still in the dark ages, as in the only thing that becomes viable is things that are profitable.
Yes.
Right? If it doesn't make money, it doesn't progress. There have been visionaries, there have been people that have made astounding leaps in technology and how energy works and how manipulation of matter can actually work. But the problem is, there's always three main problems. One, it costs too much. Two, it doesn't make enough money. Or three, it would undermine global economy like oil and gas and so on.
Right.
Once we get out of the dark ages, because think about it, the dark ages, they were at a technological standstill for 1,000 years, and once they finally came out of it, boom, we get a industrial revolution, we get firearms, we get all these crazy new inventions, and we get electricity. But we're back. We haven't progressed. I mean, we're using the same technology that I was using when I was a kid, and I'm 28. What I mean by that is certain things have improved, but the only things that have improved are marketable. Cell phones, for instance.
Right.
It's
Consumer
my
electronics.
cell phone has more power than NASA did. Well, yeah. But what good does it do? I mean,
Yeah, you're still just looking at titties with it. I mean, like.
Yeah. Well, the cell phone in the 1990s, that was still served the same function. You can pick it up, you can call other people. My thing is, it's marketable. Video games have gone a long way, but once again, they don't really serve. As much as I love video games, they don't really serve a function or possibly education. Once we get out of the money-making aspect of technology, I think we'll see stuff that will blow people's minds.
Absolutely.
Get there first.
Absolutely.
There's ideas out there. There's blueprints out there. There's concepts out there that already would blow your mind. For some reason, they're either not funded or they're abandoned. You know?
Yeah.
And I love how this conversation went from alternate realities and dream states to current technological advancements.
I mean, hey, it happens. You know, that's the way it goes.
I think it kind of all ties in together. You know, it's more of a collective. It's more of a collective conscience. Collectively, people, and when I say collectively, I mean like almost all of us that exist within a technologically advanced country. Most of the thing that we desire is entertainment, and that's why the entertainment industry has gone so much further ahead, and also medical science. Our medical science, as good as it looks on paper, our medical science really isn't all that much better than it used to be.
The practice isn't as good as it should be with the capability.
Right. We have, you're right. We have the capability to do a lot more, but the practice and the actual application of that capability is not being put into place. You know. But that's because it's a consumer-based development. They want to make money off of it. Their primary motivator is still money. Once the primary motivator becomes, more humane, more focused on the human side of things, and I think we'll go a lot farther. You know.
Right.
And yes, I get it. The reason that we're consumer-based is because a lot of these technologies and a lot of these ideas they cost money to build. But just imagine if we could eliminate the money thing. Imagine if somebody just gave you the resources you needed to create this awesome invention without money, and you made this awesome invention and distributed it to people without profit. You know, that's when we're really going to start seeing improvements. So,
right.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely.
I really hope I survive long enough to actually see it, because I think these the technological dark age that we're in right now, eventually it's going in one or two directions. It's either going to completely bust, or we're going to hurdle over it, and it's going to flourish.
Right on.
Don't know which one yet.
Right.
But yeah, we're still a baby, man.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of society, and speaking of culture, and speaking of technology, and just pretty much the advancement, we are the smartest. As far as I know, we're the smartest species. A lot of people think they're not. They don't have a developed conscience like we do. I don't think dolphins out there doing advanced algebra and
I've never seen an animal, create a piece of art.
Right.
It must be a great trick.
But believe it or not, all of this ties back into what I was saying before about the atomic thing and about us being on our solar system being an atom in the universe. Everything moves very slowly. The perception of time to us in our own reality is that. But time as a whole concept, we are moving very, very slowly.
You win this fight and you return to the front line.
Right.
It'll be thousands and thousands of years before we actually see a true.
Right.
And that's frustrating to the individual,
Your
but
team
collectively,
still by your back if they have
it's nice to know that we are headed in that direction.
For sure.
Anyways, I didn't mean to go on a 45.
Hey, it's not different. I mean, the whole premise of this entire thing is just conversation. You know, this isn't like a news program or a talk show or something where it's like you know, stay on topic, you bastard, or you know, whatever. No, it's just the topic is conversation. You know. You know, and while we do present a few like jumping off points, ultimately it's just, hey, you know, we're just having a conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, this one has been very broad. I would like to have I mean, if you feel like bringing me on in any future broadcasts, we could talk about something a little bit more specific, like something like we should maybe do something on the Mandela effect, for instance. That still fascinates me.
Oh yeah, dude. For sure. You could, man, dude. We could do like a 24-hour marathon on the Mandela effect.
Right.
And I'm not even opposed to that. Like,
yeah.
You know, man, that's it is a crazy phenomenon. For sure.
Yeah, but in essence, it's almost like a glitch in the matrix, if you will, and we actually became consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
It's almost as if something was changed that we weren't supposed to be aware of, where our primal brains rejected it and said, "Hey, something's off here. Something's funny."
Right.
I don't think we were supposed to notice it. But now that millions of people are noticing it, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, the patch, you know, fixed too many things at once. I agree, man. It's definitely I think there's definitely merit to it. You know, I don't know in what nature, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of merit to. I mean, there's something there. There's something there. The whole premise of, oh, it's mass groups of people just misremembering specific things is foolish. Right. You could go tell that to someone else, because I'm not going to hear it like that. That's ridiculous.
Well, like I said, the biggest hole in that is anytime you see somebody reporting or any experts commenting on the Mandela effect about a mass group of people misremembering, they fail to mention that that mass of people misremembered the exact same thing.
Right. Yeah, people from like from separate nations, you know, even people that, you know, possibly, you know, haven't even been on the internet or had contact with, you know, people discussing that thing. It could be like their own little private thing, you know, their own little private knowledge that they own, essentially. And then, like, they find out that someone else has that knowledge as well. And then they collectively find out that knowledge never existed. Oh, no, you didn't ever have that knowledge because it never existed. I mean, that's foolish. Don't tell me that. No.
Right, it's definitely fascinating. Either way you slice it, it's still fascinating.
And it could be, and it may have something to do with alternate realities. It may not. It may have something to do with, you know, like some type of like Matrix simulation type scenario, or it may not. You know, I don't know.
Maybe more. Maybe more along the lines of your original theory. The reason you brought me on this in the first place. Well, there are more people alive now on this planet than ever has been.
Right.
That's a lot of consciousness. That's a lot of wave energy that could very well be manipulating the reality in which we live.
Right. A lot of consciousness, a lot of souls, you know, bouncing around.
Right.
Colliding with each other.
A lot more communication and a lot more transference. I mean, as a society, as a race, as a biological species, we're supposed to live in smaller villages.
Right. And I mean, we're supercharged, man. You know.
Yeah, we're supercharged. There's hardly any. I mean, there is isolation out there, but for the most part, there is more people on this planet now than ever has been, and they are more connected to one another than ever before.
Right. And I'll tell you what's crazy too when it comes to like populations and things like that. You know, when the internet started getting big, a big prediction that a lot of people were making was that large cities were eventually going to become a thing of the past. They were like, because the internet is going to supplement all of the perks of living in a large city. You know, and more people are going to spread out into like smaller communities and smaller villages and stuff, because they said the same thing you did. You know, that's how, you know, we were kind of meant to exist. And what we saw was the exact opposite.
Right.
Despite the fact that you can, you know, push a button on your phone and have groceries delivered to your house, you know, more and more people still elect to live in these gigantic metropolis, like these huge cities, like, you know, Manhattan and LA, Dubai, and, you know, Tokyo.
Well, I mean, once again, though, that goes back to the technological dark age point that I made, and that is that everything is still profitable. You'll find that a lot of people live in bigger cities because of monetary reasons.
Right.
You know, because there's more opportunity.
Absolutely.
There's more cash flow
Yeah,
there.
there's less occupational barriers,
right.
and also a perk. Because for those that don't know me, I've lived in every setting, not every setting, but a lot of settings. You know, I've lived in backwoods haulers, I've lived in trailer parks, I've lived in housing projects, I've lived in inner cities, I've lived in apartment complexes, I've lived in cul-de-sacs, I've lived in suburbia, like I've been around. You know, and one of the major perks that I've noticed of living in a large city is that you can, just at the drop of a hat, you know, choose to be anonymous. You can turn a corner and disappear.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can't do that in Mayberry.
Hey, speaking of origins of origins, I always like to. I mean, just to squash stereotypes and stuff, you know, these intellectual conversations we have.
Yes.
Like when I tell people I grew up in the backwoods of Tennessee in a trailer, they're like, "Oh, wow, you know."
So are you racist or inbred? Like, you know.
Neither. You know
right.
what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That is a big stereotype.
As my saying goes, like usually when I go out and I have some drinks with some people, I always like to say, "You want to hear a redneck talk about quantum physics?
Right.
I can fix your car while I do it."
Right. Like I can gut a catfish while quoting Walt Whitman. You know, like what do you want? You know.
Right. Oh man, I've been sitting in the same spot on this Resident Evil game. Like,
oh really?
I'm actually, I'm actually a little bit worried about going out this door now because I've been sitting here for so long. If any of the zombies had spawned, they're gonna eat my face.
Yeah, I do love like the horror aspect of Resident Evil. I know we've discussed that a lot, since you started playing it. But it's one of the few video game franchises that can actually scare you as a grown man.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No. Let me put it to you this way. Let me give you a quick synopsis of this video game, especially. And by the way, it's on sale on the PlayStation Market right now. I would highly recommend getting it.
Was like $20?
Here's the thing. Yeah.
Not so bad.
Around that. But here's the thing about it. I have been playing video games since I was about 6 or 7 years old. I've got well over 2,000 titles under my belt in that amount of time. Like, I know that sounds like a lot, but I've been quite a bit hobby. I played probably 6 or 7 of the Resident Evil in all.
It came in 18th place.
Yeah, nice. I can tell you this right now, man. This game has scared the shit out of me at least 4 times. To the point where I jumped off my couch. Yesterday, before that boss fight, you guys were on comms with me, and I screamed out, like, really loud. And I don't, I'm like, wait, what in the, I'm a grown-ass adult, right. 28 years old. And this game just made me scream out, dude. Yes. They kept the horror aspect of Resident Evil 2 very, very strongly alive. Man, it has scared the shit out of me.
I remember playing them as a kid. I've not played in the remake, but I played a lot of the games in the original franchise on the older systems, man. And like I remember as a kid, about to be like alone in my room at night, it'd be like 2 in the morning, everybody's asleep, and I'm just sitting there like sweating. Oh my god, dude! Like especially Resident Evil 3. That was always the one that got me the most because of Nemesis. Because you never knew when Nemesis was gonna come at you, and then it would give you these. It gave you the illusion of choice. It really did. Like, go to the police station or stand and fight Nemesis. It doesn't matter. You're fighting Nemesis either way. Like,
right. No, dude. Okay, so the parallel you just drew was absolutely correct. So Resident Evil 2 as a child scared you. Right, so you think playing Resident Evil 2, the remake as an adult, don't. They did the exact same thing with this remake. They put that same level of fear. So if you experience, if you were afraid of Resident Evil 2 as a kid, you're going to do the same thing to you I mean, you have heard my struggle on this. I have been pounding my head against a brick wall, and the zombies pounding my head against a brick wall when I don't. So it's very difficult too, by the way.
He also plays it on hardcore mode. Heads
it's
up.
on, it's on hardcore, but again, I typically play any new video game on a harder difficulty because I find standard to typically be too easy. But yeah, I put it on hardcore mode, and this game will kick you in the face.
Oh.
It is the Dark Souls of zombie survival horror. It has no loot. It gives no fucks. Also, I made the mistake of thinking, like, with the old game, that I could kill every zombie. And you absolutely cannot kill every zombie in this game. It will not give you enough ammo for that. You'll be in a very hard spot.
Playtime's over, mate. You're going to the war zone.
I played through trying to kill everything I came across, and I ran out of ammo so quick. And the problem is, when I ran in the middle of it, like I did, and then you've got some real threats besides zombies. You've got rippers and zombie dogs. And nothing's more terrifying than walking into a hallway and hearing a ripper jump at you, slice your jugular, and you have no ammo in any weapon. You're just like, what the hell am I going to do about this?
Right. I always loved the straightforwardness of Resident Evil 2. Like when you die, it's always just like, you died.
Right. And another thing about Resident Evil 2 that I remember, like, what took a lot of the terror out for me is if you walked into a room and it's filled with zombies and you couldn't get, you could panic, turn back around, walk through the door and be safe. Well, you can't do that. Doors are not safe in this one. Zombies will absolutely break through those doors and fight your face off. So, yeah. Anyways, it's pretty exciting. But then again, I happen to be a masochist. Some more punishing we are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Complain and moan about it, but if anybody ever asked me to review it, like for instance, first time I ever played Dark Souls, man, the game kicked my ass all over the place. And during it, I was so mad. I was like, this game, I cannot fucking believe it. This game sucks. It's cheap. It's cheesy. It's trying to kill me. They're putting me in impossible scenarios. I beat the game. Well, so what do you think about Dark Souls, dude? I loved it. It was so
right.
It's like, well, apparently that was enjoyable. Getting your face kicked in every once in a while was nice. Because a lot of video games
Oh, got a kill.
The last 2 years, video games have really started ramping up their difficulties, but there was a period there, especially like during the GameCube era and the PS3 era, where games were just like ridiculous.
Oh yeah, dude. Like you just go through with just slaughters and shit, man. Like.
Right.
I remember playing PS3 games like Skyrim and stuff, and we would be like going to the dialogue, yeah, we get it. You know, you go there, nobody's ever been back. You get the shit. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Get my gold ready.
Oh man, dude. Speaking of Skyrim, I still remember like the character I built. There was a point in Skyrim where I got bored of playing because my character, and I'm not trying to brag, I built myself into a corner. I built myself so powerful that even an older dragon, I could
right.
two-shot it. And I'd just be like, okay.
Listen up, soldier. Win here and you return to the front line. But if you lose...
And I've done it, and of course when I say that too, like, well, a lot of people are like, well, did you turn up the difficulty? I absolutely did. Like, I had it on legendary difficulty and I still, like, did not struggle at all. It's like, well, shit. I built myself into a corner. So, what do you think of
I'm enjoying it. It's definitely got some things, you know, like that I need to learn. There is a somewhat of a learning curve. It's not super terrible, or what's the word I'm trying to say? Not a super steep learning curve like a lot of the games, but it's definitely got some things that you need to figure out. But all in all, man, like I'm having fun playing it right now. You know, searching for that elusive win. And
well, yep, it's definitely a camper's paradise.
Right. And I do like I like the gulag. That's really cool. With the vehicles and helicopters and stuff. Dude, we gotta get more cat in here flying these choppers.
Right. I will tell you, I enjoy playing it, but for some reason my FPS skills are not on par with a lot of the encounters I end up using. It's like, oh boy.
Well, I mean, like a big thing too is that like, dude, Call of Duty fans, like they've been sticking with this franchise for forever now, dude. Like they've got the mechanic systems and everything like to it.
Right, yeah, and I'm jumping in, and I have no idea the recoil patterns of any of the weapons I'm using. I don't know the lethality rate. I don't even know if what I'm picking up is burst fire, fully auto, semi-auto.
Right.
You know?
You gotta have an encounter with a person before you even figure out like what you're doing.
I do notice I tend to lean towards marksman rifles because even on a very broad spectrum, they act the same way on most games. You got a moderate amount of recoil and a moderate amount of stopping power.
And once again, my biggest strength is pistols.
Is it really?
I've only gotten 1 kill so far, and it was with a pistol. Well, 2 if you count Gulag. I've had 2 pistol kills, one in the Gulag and one in the field.
Well, that Gulag thing is intense, though, man.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man.
It's like, oh, boy.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
I'm about 50-50 with Gulag. I'd say I lose half and I've won half.
I've only won once so far. I've been in like 4 times.
The ones where they give you the pistol is really fun. The ones with the shotgun, that's just
Yeah, see, like I was just now did the one with the shotgun, but I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could spawn with a shotgun, so it threw me for a loop, and I wasn't ready for it. And I got creamed.
Actual, send the strike.
Oh, this dude's dropping airstrike.
Go around, get some good loot, wait till I get a blue or a purple. Then I like to find somewhere to hold up, somewhere that's in the middle of the circle, somewhere where we can both defend, you know, typically like a staircase. I'm sure that's a very common strategy. But,
oh yeah, I'd say the main things are sticking together, and which like these types of games, you know, I don't do a whole lot of like I know my traditional. See, my strengths are, you know, they live in like close quarters combat. Is where I shine, you know, like for anybody who's like watching my gameplay, you know, like I'm usually like I pop in, pop out, you know, play shadow games with people, they can't figure out where I am, wrap around the building, go into one entrance, go out another exit, pop out, bam, donkey punch to the face, you know, like something like that.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, I lose you in plain sight, and I'm like, what just happened, man? Where did you go? And then I get shot in the ass. I'm like, oh, there he is.
See, games like this, you know, this is, you know, it's more of like, you know, okay, take your time. You know, so like I'm not bound to those types of things like that. It is one of my strengths, but it's not, you know, like I'm not gonna be hauling ass trying to Rambo my way through this map.
To be honest with you, I don't really know my first-person shooter strengths. As a matter of fact, first-person shooter has always been my least skillful game. I'm usually more tuned to platform fighters or strategy,
right?
You know, versus. But if I had to say I had any kind of strength in shooters, I would say that mid-range encounters or single shot.
Right.
Like the pistol that I like to use, the Wingman Elite.
Do what?
Sounds like you're in an engagement.
No, I'm good. What's up?
I don't know, man. What would you say my strengths are? You've played against me the most.
Not that I'm like, oh, I can't think of something he's good at. That's not what I mean. It's just trying to actually, you know, like analyze it and label it.
Besides those grenades.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, grenade, dude. Let me tell you something. I've always kind of like had a lot of pride in my grenade skill in games, and like you have eviscerated it. You know, like because as good as I like to think I am at my well-placed nades, like I can't cook a grenade perfectly to the point to where I can just run up on someone, shuttle past it directly into their mouth, and have it explode as soon as it hits them. I can't do that. I can't do it. Hey, dude, you're popping them off
directly into their mouth. Huh?
Yeah, dude. It's just like, hey, catch, whoo, boom, and it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where a lot of the times it won't even touch the ground. It'll appear right in front of you and boom.
Dude, like when we're fighting each other, like half the time, I don't even get the grenade indicators. Like, it's like, oh, there's Nocturne, bam! Well, what was that? You watched the kill cam and he, it was a grenade. Like, man, it's like getting hit with a tomahawk on the old Black Ops games. It just happens.
It's just like, wait, what? I didn't get a warning for that.
It's like you're just throwing a rock so hard that it's just ripping through their face. Like,
oh man, you're killing me here, dude. Killing me.
Because I remember in the mag days, man, like I was getting combat fraggers left and right, and I was always like, yeah, look, I'm such a hard ass with these nades, blah blah blah, and like now I'm just like, I don't even want to throw them. Like,
oh man, I'd love to revisit mag with my current skill set, man.
Right, I would love a sequel. It'll never happen, probably because they're so focused on trying to make SOCOM happen.
So how many players was Domination again?
It was 128 v 128.
So it still to this day
yes.
remains one of the biggest first-person shooters you can.
Yeah.
Because even battle royale games like right now.
No, it's like 100 people. Yeah, it's like 150 people. Yeah. This was 256 people on a map like half this size. And there was like heavy artillery, anti-aircraft artillery. There were like all types of like crazy strafing runs and things, and like it was a real-time strategy game. Like you had to figure out, how am I going to get past this bunker line so that I can take down their AAA, so that I can start calling in airstrikes on their objectives, so that our team can actually get in there and take it.
Yeah, dude.
Like I missed it. It was so intense. It was amazing.
And that was 10 years ago. So they obviously have the technology. Why don't they bring the game back?
It's
but then
because
again, now that I think about it, how much server maintenance do you reckon they had to do? Because that's 256 people playing per
watch for enemy.
Like,
they did server maintenance once a week. Same as most games. Right. Wednesday night, about 3 in the morning. Servers are down for maintenance.
Right. 256 people, man.
Yeah. The smallest game, most suppression, was like 32 v 32.
Right.
The death match.
Felt tiny. It did. Suppression felt tiny.
There's like,
32 people versus 32.
Yeah. There's no one here.
Right.
There's only 32 enemies.
But also,
I can't even get a grin. Like.
Right. And the cool concept about that, though, with that many people in a match, you'd be surprised how much, like, if you are a skillful player, you are a stealthy player, it will reward you a lot more than standard. Like, in Call of Duty, you get a kill streak of 5 or 6 kills, and you're like, yeah, dude, in MAG, you could go 20 kills in a streak if you were stealthy enough. Now, that was satisfying.
Right. Once again, though, like, we were, and I'm not even trying to, be like, oh, like, I'm the shit or nothing, but, like, dude, we were top tier in that game. Like, dude, sure. we were, we were, like, awesome. We were awesome at that game. Like, we were at the top. I remember at one point, there were hundreds of thousands of people playing this game every day. That was like the average traffic. And between us, it was like me, you, Morecat, and Herbalist, like the main 4.
Yep.
And we had a few other people. Loki was in it from time to time. Realist was in it from time to time. But I remember Herbalist just being the best. He was in the top 200 players in the world. And Morecat was next. He was in, like, I don't know exactly how high he got, but I remember one time getting on the leaderboards and he was like, 5,800. And the highest I ever knew myself was about 7,500. I was in like the top 7,500 players.
Yeah, but see, that doesn't sound like much, but you put it in the context that 4 or 5 million people.
Right. Yeah. I've never done that with any other game, for sure.
Right.
People are watching this right now probably being like, dude, he's getting his ass whooped at Warzone. What are you talking about? Quit pulling your dick. Like.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. I do have an interesting story, but I don't know if it's still there. Do you have Far Cry 3?
I do not. I have Far Cry Primal Instincts on the original Xbox.
Yeah. I kind of want to check that because about 2 years ago I set 2 world records on the first stone, and I wonder if you can still go see Nocturne B on that stone. But yeah, that's the only thing I've ever broken record was. Well, that and my Diablo character, but yeah.
Right.
Besides the point. But yeah, no. Just back to that though. I feel there's a need These battle royale games have been growing in popularity. Now they're basically the most popular game that is out there. Most of them tend to be free. I would absolutely love to see a battle royale game. But no, you know what? I just want to see MAG again. I want to fight 128 people that have squad. They have 4 squads, and they have an actual leader. What was it called? Commander, or what was it?
There were basically the way that the MAG team setup worked was that there was a company of 128 people, and there were four platoons. Yeah, there were 4 platoons in each company, and each platoon had 4 squads of 8. And there was a squad leader, a platoon leader, and an officer in charge. And there were different perks and different abilities you could get based on your leadership, and they like prioritize the leadership for like what level you were, your not kill death ratio, but like your score, like your average scores, and also I think medic abilities and stuff were a big factor, and also how regularly you use the mic.
But I remember I got OIC one time, and it was the best game I ever had.
I only ever got it once, also.
What was the most kills you ever got in a game?
Man, it's so hard to even remember. I remember my best KD was like 36-6.
Ooh.
And which is a very coincidental because my very first game with MAG ever, I went 6-36, and so that's why I always remembered it. I was like, it's the exact opposite of my first game.
Right.
And that was in a game of Raven Suppression, and I just absolutely annihilated the entire team using the wraparound building.
Yep. Well, the one game, the reason I'll never forget it though, and as staggering as this number was, I never even got close to it again. But when I was OIC calling in airstrikes and everything else.
Oh yeah, you get like 115 kills or some shit.
I got 83 kills, man, in one game.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts.
Like, whoa, that's a lot of dead mofo's.
As far as most kills ever, I honestly can't really remember. I feel like I played one game where I was like, that's like 2 Grim Reapers, so like around 70 or so, maybe like 65 or something. At the most, like I don't think I ever broke 80. That's crazy.
Well, then again, though, I think another reason that MAG, we probably won't see it again, or the game mode. The one, my favorite one was, what was it? It was 30 minutes long, right? 30 minutes fight.
Acquisition?
No, domination.
Oh, domination. It was like 30 minutes.
Yeah. And that's actually pretty long for a game mode.
Yeah.
You got 128 people fighting against 128.
And that's if the defending team can hold out. That's how long they have to hold out for. Was 30 minutes.
And see, another problem though is you had a lot of people quit too, because like they get in and they were losing really bad, and they didn't want to lose for 30 minutes straight, so they just drop out of it.
Yeah.
All right, I have to go. I'll be right back with you, Vinicio. I gotta go. I don't know. I don't have a good euphemism for it, so yeah.
Take a piss.
Gotta go tinkle.
Yeah. All right. So, still doing a little bit of Warzone here. When Nocturno gets back, we'll jump into our Deadpool discussion stuff that we've kind of gone on. We started this discussion in 2 other videos. This is part 3 of that. If you want to go check those out, it's definitely cool. If not, I mean, you can still have a good time, with this one. But I think it's gonna be really cool. This is my first time playing Warzone. If you're just now jumping in, it's going pretty good. I like it a lot. I've not really done a whole lot of stuff. I've gotten like 2 pistol kills, 1 in the gulag, 1 in the field. Our team came in 18th place earlier, as the best that we've placed. Still chasing the elusive win, as Buddy Realist calls it, or something similar to that. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, from what I understand, if you get a win in this game, you're hooked. But I can see that it's definitely difficult. It's not like, you know, a lot of other games where you just jump into a match and then, okay, you know, boom, we won. Oh, just won like 8 games in a row, blah blah blah.
I have returned.
All right. So last week we did a lot of stuff on the Deadpool run that we've been talking about.
Oh yeah, yep.
Last week we kind of talked about, well, overall this is about the 97 to like 2004 run of the Deadpool comic books. It's a really good run. I definitely recommend checking it out. You can read them on the Marvel Unlimited app. It's issue by issue, or you can also buy these in like trade paperback volumes on like Amazon and things like that.
Do you happen to remember the comic that started that one, like the name of it, the title? Do you remember that by chance?
I'm not entirely sure the question, but it's called Deadpool.
Oh, so that's just it then? 1997, or when
Yeah,
did it start?
yeah, 1997.
Deadpool.
Yeah, it's called Deadpool.
Yeah, I figured it might be like Deadpool Rises or Introducing Deadpool or something along those lines.
Basically the way they do it is that like the book series is called just Deadpool, and it's like issue 1 through, you know, blah blah blah. I think they did like 60 something issues, putting out like once a month, so it was out for a few years. And then like the story arcs within and like the issues and stuff, they'll have like their own names too, like, you know, like Deadpool issue number 43, Out of the Furnace Part 3, or something like that, you know. And those probably are not even real titles. I just made those up. But
as an example.
Yes, just a hypothetical example. But last week we were talking about it, and what had happened was that Deadpool had a run-in with Typhoid Mary, and they went on this whole thing to try to kill Daredevil, and, you know, it didn't work out, and blah blah blah. And Deadpool revealed that his whole thing was that he was trying to get Typhoid Mary to face the type of person she really is, so that she could better herself. And
if I remember right, Deadpool and they ended up working together, didn't they?
Daredevil and Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. It's kind of up in the air because Deadpool was kind of playing both sides to get his. All three of these people had their own agenda. Typhoid Mary's agenda was to kill Daredevil. Daredevil's agenda was to lock up Typhoid Mary, and Deadpool's agenda was to help Typhoid Mary so that she would not try to kill Daredevil. And then, you know, they get back to, you know, where they're living at and everything, and the Typhoid Mary and Deadpool had this big clash, headed into this brutal ballroom brawl, and Deadpool just keeps killing people and he can't stop her, so he just physically beats the shit out of her until she can't move, and to the point to where she is immobilized, because her whole point was like, you can't stop me without killing me, you're not a hero. And he's like, you know, bet. I may not be a hero, but I can stop you. So he just beats her down, man. Really beats her down. Hold on one moment. I'll send you some fresh art samples. I forgot. But kind of some of the things I don't know about this is, I guess the first thing I should explain before jumping into this is anyone who's seen the Deadpool movies is familiar with the character Blind Al. She is this blind lady who is Deadpool's roommate, and they have a lot of, you know, hilarious hijinks. But the difference is...
Yeah, go ahead and refresh my memory on that, because you know how my memory goes.
Right. Well, yeah, in the movies, there's that older black lady that lives with Deadpool. That she's blind.
Right. I mean, I guess it's been that long since I've seen it.
Like, he's always, like, pulling pranks with her and stuff. Like, he's leaving the house, and he's like, hey, if you're looking for the car, or not the car keys, but if you're looking for, like, the remote radio or TV or whatever, I hid it under the floorboard. It's next to the cure for blindness. And different things like that. And I would say that the major difference between the relationship in the movies and the comic books is that in the comic books, she is his roommate, I guess, but it's also she's his prisoner. Oh. Like Deadpool, as I said before, Deadpool's not a good person. He's not a hero. And so yes, he has Al held prisoner in his home. But they have like a really charming back and forth relationship. Like he'll play pranks and stuff on her, she'll get back at him, and like it's really like as like a crazy like slice of life aspect to this whole like mercenary with a prisoner motif. Like it's really crazy. And but I love Blonde Al. She's one of my favorite characters, and you know, because she's just she doesn't take his shit. She's like, yeah, you got me held prisoner here, but ultimately, shut your fucking mouth. Like, that's just really cool. Also, in the house that they live in, Deadpool has this room. It's called the box. And that's where he puts Al when he's like pissed off at her. And it's really messed up. It's really messed up, dude. Like, cause you think about it, you know, she's blind, and the box is just this room. It's not even locked. It's just a room, and there's just broken glass all over the floor. There's like chains with blades on the ends of them, just like hanging down from the ceiling.
Oh wow. There's
like booby traps. Like you step on the wrong floorboard, it's gonna like throw a knife at you. You know, and like, and it's nuts. It really shows like the darker side of Deadpool. You know, that like a lot of people forget about. You know, when he's cracking his jokes and stuff. And it's really it's unsettling for sure. Just knowing that it's there. Also, another character that's in this run of comics that we have not mentioned before, although he has been in the comics we were talking about, but it wasn't like a major plot point. You know, I try to just hit the broad strokes, but his name is T-Ray.
And which one is that?
In the art samples, he's just like this big, muscular guy, like kind of pale looking.
First one here. Yep.
Ponytail, I think. T-Ray is another mercenary. And the mercenaries, you know, if you aren't aware, like they all hang out in like this bar, Hell House, formerly St. Agnes School for Wayward Girls. And that's where they hang out, and that's where they get jobs, and you know, that kind of thing, and just kind of work their professional careers as mercenaries. And T-Ray hates Deadpool. Like, he hates him like. So I can't even describe it more than I've ever known anyone to hate anyone else. Like he just absolutely despises him. Like, and T-Ray is a tough son of a bitch. Like when Deadpool's not around and T-Ray is like hanging out in Hell House, like he'll beat the shit out of somebody or possibly kill them for even saying the name Deadpool.
Oh man.
He's like, I don't want you to say that name. You know. And
what's the history there? Why does he hate him so bad?
Well, that's something that we're going to have to get into maybe a little later, possibly even next week, because it's a very complicated,
very
sordid history. And man, their history is a very well written story. It's nuts. But
wait a second, I just now realized something about one of the art samples you sent me. It's Deadpool sitting on a bench, and it says, with great power comes...
Great coincidence.
Great coincidence. But not only that, I thought that was a suitcase on the ground next to him. It's not. It's a mounted machine gun.
Yeah.
I thought that was a suitcase.
Also, that's a parody of the Forrest Gump movie poster.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now I get it now. But yeah, he's got a machine gun on a bipod just sitting right next to him.
Yep.
That's got ill intent written all over it.
Oh, yeah. And also, in this run, there's this organization. Really, it's more, if I had to explain it, it's kind of like a weird pseudo-scientific cult.
Yeah, I'm seeing the art sample that represents them. Yeah, it's a guy in like a big steel suit. The one you're talking about?
No, that is not. No. That actually is not them. That is Ajax. He is the primary antagonist of the first Deadpool movie. In the first Deadpool movie, you know, the guy that like experiments on him, like in the comics. Now we talked about it last week, and the week before there was Dr. Kilbrew. Well, in the comics, Dr. Kilbrew like right-hand man. His like enforcer is Ajax. Whereas in the movie, Ajax was the main guy, and his right-hand man was like that woman that was super strong, and she like chewing on the matches.
Gotcha.
That was always funny because he's like, "Oh, you're pretty strong for a chick." He's calling Wayne. But that also brings up something that's really funny about the first Deadpool movie that a lot of people don't really notice. Is if you think about the Deadpool movie, okay, the primary villain, his name is Ajax. And Deadpool finds out that his real name is Francis. And that's why he goes by Ajax. But that's like a secret. Nobody knows that that's his real name. And so when Deadpool is like going to all these different locations, like killing everybody in this game, or in this gang, he's asking them, "Where's Francis? Tell me where Francis is, or I'm gonna skewer you." And everybody's saying they don't know, you know. And he's just killing. He kills like probably 300 people, and like you're asking them the wrong name.
Right.
Like they don't know who Francis is.
Because that's Francis's. Oh, well, I didn't really catch that either.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of people don't. It's not
once when it first came out a while back, so I don't remember as much as I should.
Right.
But yeah, that's crazy. He's asking, "Where am I?
Yeah.
Where am I?"
No, he's not asking where am I. That's not Deadpool's name. That's Ajax's name.
Oh, I thought you said Deadpool's name was.
No, Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson.
Wade, that's right. That's
Wade
right.
Wilson.
You're right.
But the bad guy, Ajax, his name is Francis. And Deadpool finds out. Deadpool finds out that that's his name, and like uses that information to fuck with him. And so then when he's looking for him years later, you know, he's like, "Where's Francis?" And he's killing all of Ajax's goons, and they're all just like, "I don't know." And he kills them anyway. And it's like, if you would have asked them, "Where's Ajax?" you probably would have gotten some information. But they don't really hang a lantern on it. It's not like you gotta notice it. Yeah, as I was saying, this organization in the comics, they are called LL&L, which is an acronym for like, I forget the name. It's like Loudman, Lake, and blah. You know, it's just like 3 names that start with L.
Right.
And those are like the main people. And they're really hard to describe, man. Like, they have like all these weird agendas and stuff, and like they have a lot of interactions with Deadpool through this. But like, I guess we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it.
I mean, are they like interactions? Are they kind of comical, or are their agendas kind of comical as well?
Not really. They're kind of like the Suits that are like, "Damn it, Deadpool!" Like,
so they're not over the top or anything. I just wondered with like a name like LLL, you know?
Right. They're over the top in the sense that like the sci-fi crazy things they do are like over the top to the point where you know, it gets you where you're like, all right, you know, like whatever you say, pal. But as far as like the comedy and stuff, no, not really. They're the Forest Ranger to Deadpool's Yogi. You know, they're just like damn it, Deadpool, like that we need him, but like he's just shut up and do what we need you to do.
Okay, I'm going to use this X-ray technology to project cognitive radiation into your psyche.
Yeah, So when we left off, Deadpool had just, you know, whooped the shit out of Typhoid Mary, you know. And his whole thing right now is he's trying to be a hero. And he's having a really hard time because he's not really a hero and he's not a good person. And he suffered a lot of trauma. And also he's very selfish. He's very fickle. He's flaky. And, you know, he's self-centered. And it's kind of like, you know, he's working on it. So like when we pick up in this kind of section of the run, it's, you know, like Deadpool goes to the Hell House to see if there's any hero jobs available, because they do get hero jobs, but you know, most of the mercenaries don't take them because they either don't pay well or they don't pay at all, and it's a lot of hassle, you know. And Deadpool is like, you know, let me get some of those hero jobs. What are these jobs? You know? And so they're looking around, you know, and then like right then this guy walks into the Hell House, like hooded figure, real mysterious guy. And he hires Deadpool to like save some princess. And Deadpool's like, a perfect hero job. Save the princess. He's like, I got it. You know, like, and he goes, you know, she's royalty. Maybe I'll give me a little cheddar cheese for my efforts. Maybe a little nickel, you never know. You know, like, but yeah, let's do it.
Hopefully not at the same time.
Right.
Cheddar cheese.
But so en route to this job, Deadpool realizes this is a setup. This isn't a real job, you know. And they knock him out, and then he wakes up and he's strapped to a table, which is like the worst thing for Deadpool because he's been strapped to tables, you know. Like, you know, that's a huge thing for him, you know.
Yeah, trivial alert.
And the hooded figure reveals his name. You know, his name is Death Trap. And Death Trap's ordeal is he's just this crazy villain. He doesn't have any like big, you know, schemes for like world domination or like robbing banks or anything. His whole thing is that he's just really into the hobby of creating elaborate, over-the-top death traps. And he just likes to see if people can get out of them or not.
That actually sounds almost relatable. Like, you feel like that'd be something somebody would actually do.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Saw without all the, you know, without all the philosophy.
Right. Exactly. That was some Saw music today.
So Death Trap has Deadpool in a death trap. And basically this death trap is he's strapped to the table and there's a giant, like, teddy bear hanging above him on a chain. And it's, like, super heavy, and it's activated by voice. So every time Deadpool speaks, the bear lowers. So it's like, how long can you remain silent? You know, blah, blah, blah. And every time he speaks, it like lowers by a foot. And his whole plan is to, like, you know, torture him into like being silent and all this, you know. And Deadpool just never stops talking, you know. And it just comes crashing down like all at once. And he had a plan, you know. He was gonna like use his tools and his weapons to like escape, you know, use his like healing factor and all that. He's like, fuck this trap. I'm not even playing this game, you know. But it also realizes that Blind Al had pulled a prank on Deadpool and like replaced all of his weapons and his tools and stuff with like useless crap. Like he goes to pull out like a sword and it's like made of rubber and it can't do anything, you know, and like his gun just like shoots out a little flag and it's like bang, you know, or something like that, you know. Like all of his stuff is just junk, and he's like, oh man, I'm actually in a spot now. And like,
I feel like I've had dreams like that, where I pull out what was supposed to be a lethal weapon and it turns into nothing.
Boom, just got another picture of
Nice. And you're...
Let's see.
Wait, are you saying that Deadpool's tools were like this?
Yes.
How did he get unstrapped from the table? Did you say that part?
No, he was still strapped to the table while he was trying to use these things to get off of the table.
Oh. Okay.
And it wasn't working because, you know, all this stuff was junk. So, he has his healing factor. So what does he do? He just breaks both of his wrists and both of his ankles.
Oh.
Yes. And that's...
Anytime you see that proposed either in writing or on movies, I don't know if people realize just how... You've broken a wrist before, right? Or have you?
Yes, I have actually broken the same wrist like 4 times.
Yeah, could you imagine willfully and purposefully doing that to 4 different... Oof. How bad would that be?
Right. And it gets him out of the trap, but the pain causes him to pass out.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because Deadpool's not like, you know...
the pain threshold.
Right, like, you know, Deadpool isn't, you know, like super strong or like super durable or anything. He just heals quickly. And...
He still feels the pain.
Yes. Yes, he does. And when he wakes up, Death Trap is gone. Deadpool, you know, kind of goes on, tries to like move on, forget about it and all this stuff. And he decides, you know what? It's time to take Blind Al out for a field trip. And Blind Al hates going on field trips because she's blind. And she's just this old cranky lady. She's like, I just want to sit at home. Like, and he just loves like torturing her with these outings where he just like terrorizes her the entire time.
Why exactly though? Why? How did that end up even? That's probably a story for another time. But how in the world did that end up being a thing?
What?
Did she wrong him in some way, or did he just do it for his own?
Honestly, I am not entirely sure of how Blind Al first became Deadpool's prisoner. It's just kind of always been like, to my knowledge anyway. I'm sure they've done something with it. I'm sure they've made some type of issue, you know, like a special edition or something where it's like, hey, you know, the origin of the Blind Al Deadpool relationship. I honestly don't know it. I don't know what it is. As far as I can tell, it's just him flexing his sociopathic tendencies. So like, but he has this like wheel, like a Wheel of Fortune type thing, with a figure on it, and it's got all these like locations on it. You can go and flip it, and it's one like tiny little wedge that says freedom, and it's always like if it lands on there, you can go free, and it, you know, it never does, obviously. And this time it lands on the aquarium. And she gets so mad. She's like, damn it, Wade, I hate the fucking aquarium. She's like, it smells like fish, and I can't even look at the cool things. Like,
right. That's literally a place you only go to for the visuals.
Yeah. Like, it stinks. I hate it. And, so, like, also it's worth noting that in the comics, when Deadpool goes out into public, he has an image inducer. And to where he can choose what he appears to other people as, so that he doesn't have to wear his costume, and he doesn't have to, you know.
Can I buy one of those on Amazon? Where do I find one?
Right.
Good.
And so kind of like because of all the whole Typhoid Mary stuff that went on, Deadpool's in like a really weird headspace, where he's like he's trying to do better, but his self-destructive tendencies are like busting at the seams. And kind of as like an almost act of mercy, he tells Blind Al, look, I'm going to sit down on this bench, and I'm going to count down to 500, or I'm going to count up to 500. If you can make it out of the park before I find you, you can go free.
Oh.
And that just pisses her off, because like that's a game that they've played in the past, and he always cheats. And he never.
Well, how would she know if he even cheated, right? You know what I mean?
Because he'll be like, all right, 1, 2, 25.
Right, but a blind lady trying to escape a person with, yeah, I don't know. That sounds.
I mean, I don't know like the logistics of it, but you know, it's basically like she knows that there's no chance of her leaving. Right. So like at first she even just refuses to play. She's like, I'm not even doing this. And he's like, you are. You're gonna do it. You're gonna try to get out of here. You know? And And it is cruel. It's very cruel. He's very cruel to Al. And it's like he's kind of like his punching bag, but then she's also like his big redeeming quality too. Like she helps bring out the best in him, and when everything's going good, they have like this really cool friendship, and it's really like heartwarming and all these things. But then when things are going bad, like it's fucking rough, dude. Like it like I said, it's very unsettling. So so she walks away. And she just finds another bench and just sits down on it. Cause she's like, he's not gonna let me go anyway, so the hell with it. And so when Deadpool starts looking for her to kind of like make it an extra challenge, he starts just firing his gun into the air, cause a panic. You know, make it a little harder to find her. Right. And so everybody starts freaking out. Somebody shoot a gun, blah blah blah, running around. And so he finds her, but because, you know, he's running around waving a gun around at the aquarium, he gets attacked by a very obscure superhero team. And this is like, dude, I'm about to tell you, like, this is one of the lamest superhero groups that have ever been thought of. And that's like their whole premise. That's their whole premise, is like, we're the dumb ones, we're the lame ass ones. Oh, okay. You know, and it's so terrible. Yeah. And they are called the Great Lakes Avengers. Because the Avengers have, in some, you know, important time periods, they have like different chapters. Like there's the West Coast Avengers, you know, and stuff. And these are the Great Lakes Avengers. Right, okay. And dude, they're so lame. Like, they're so damn lame, it's ridiculous. Like, the leader is this guy, Mr. Immortal. And basically, when he dies, he comes back to life. Within a few minutes. And then he always...
just this, like, the same body? The same
yeah. It just kind of regenerates, you know. But he has to die for the power to kick in.
Oh, that's not too terrible.
Right. And, but he's just like this, and he always comes back, like, in a rage. You know, and they gotta calm him down, you know. And then there's this guy, Flat Man. And it's exactly how he sounds. He's like two-dimensional. He's
Flat Man and his sidekick, Bubblegum Bob.
Right. And then there's like Big Bertha, and she's like this, like what's supposed to be like this really attractive woman, but she can like transform into this just gigantic obese woman.
So.
Oh. Hey-oh. And then there's this guy, I don't even remember his name, but he teleports. And then there's a dinosaur.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very clever there. You know, and like they're so lame. But in this, they're actually called the Lightning Rod because they were sick of being in the Avengers shadows, so they decided to become an offshoot of the team known as the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts is a really cool team, by the way. A lot of them, that's kind of like the people that used to be villains and they're trying to get their shit together.
Oh, okay.
It's a really cool premise, and I really like it a lot.
So, like the halfway house of heroes.
Right. And, but these guys are the Lightning Rods. So they show up, and they're like, their dialogue is terrible, too. They're always saying shit like, "Stop, vile fiend," you know, like Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. There's evil!
Yeah. Desist, you ragged criminal. You have violated the law. What have you to say for yourself?
No one talks to my old chum that way. Like, it's really funny just watching them exist. Like, they're terrible. They're such trash. Like, so they show up.
So they're Skyrim guards.
Yeah. Pretty much. And so they show up and they're like, you know, you gotta stop shooting up this aquarium. And Deadpool just shoots Mr. Immortal right in the face and kills him.
Wow, he had no idea this dude was
No,
immortal.
he did. He really did. They're like,
That dude, the way you explained that made me laugh. He just shot Mr. Immortal right in the face.
killed the guy, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" Like the other people in like the lightning, they're like throwing up, like, ugh, like they're not prepared for anything like this at all.
Right.
And
they were prepared for the typical mild response of his villain.
Yeah.
You will not stop me. I will shatter this. No, I'm gonna blow his brains out. Okay.
Yeah.
Deadpool.
So then he just leaves. And he goes and he finds Al. And he's like, "Alright, Al, let's get out of here and go
so
home."
That's all they had to do to stop that host squad was shoot Mr. Immortal in the face. Just crippled him. That's it.
I mean,
wow.
In a sense. But like, but yeah, so he goes, he gets out, and he's like, "Let's get out of here. Like, I'm done with these losers, you know." Like, and they go, and then Deadpool goes to use his teleporter to teleport them both back home. But while he's doing that, Doorman is the name of the teleporter guy.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so while he's
lightning rods?
Yeah, it's all quite loud. And like, dude, like I said, like the dialogue, dude, like they'll jump in and Flatman, it's like, "Don't, like, stop your tyranny, you villain! Prepare to be struck by the lightning rods!" And everybody's like, lightning rods don't really strike anything. That doesn't make a lot of sense. They kind of get struck. So, but like while Deadpool's using the teleporter to teleport Al back home, Doorman sees him and he thinks that Deadpool is like kidnapping this helpless old lady, which in a sense he is.
Right.
And so he tries to teleport to Al and then get her and teleport her away to safety. But the thing is that in the Marvel Universe, engaging two modalities of instantaneous transportation at the same time on the same subjects causes them to become lost in time.
What? Whoa. Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
So, by that, you can extrapolate that the Marvel Universe uses teleportation as a basis of time manipulation.
Yes.
Interesting. Did not know that.
But it's not really controllable. You just end up in another time period.
Right. Right. No, but I'm just saying that teleportation is based off of time manipulation, though.
Right.
In one form or the other.
Right.
I mean, that's an interesting concept because that wouldn't be considered teleportation. If you stop time, walk over to another spot, restart time, you just teleported by all intents and purposes.
Right.
But anyways, sorry.
No, it's fine. That's you don't even gotta apologize. Yeah, it is a very interesting concept for sure. So they go back to 1967.
All three of them?
No, just Deadpool and Al.
Okay.
Because because reasons. But yeah, Doorman is still in the present. And so Deadpool and Al end up back in 1967. And the thing about 1960s comic books is like...
Oh, so they even changed the art style to match?
Oh yeah, dude. Well, like...
Oh, that's awesome.
They kind of look the same, but everything around them is different. Like...
So everything else is rendered in 1967 style.
Yeah.
That's a nice
Like 1960s comic books. Like, here's the thing about comic books. Like, a lot of people, when they get into new franchises or different new, like, things of fiction, you know, they're like, "I want to start at the beginning of the franchise, blah, blah, blah." Don't do that with comics. Don't do it.
There's been a lot of improvement, I take it.
Like, the dialogue is terrible. The art is usually not all that great either. A lot of the stories are really cool, you know. Don't get me wrong. Like, if it wasn't for those comics, you know, we wouldn't have a lot of the great things that have going on now. Right. And so, like, it's definitely part of the history, and a lot of it is also like outdated in the sense that some of the things they do and say aren't really acceptable in the culture today. Like, anytime you're like watching movies or reading books or comics or anything from like the 50s and the 60s, I've always used this as an example. There's always one scene that seems to pop up periodically throughout all of this media. And basically you got some guy, say he's a stockbroker or some type of fancy businessman or something. He's, you know, well off. He's in his office. He's on the phone screaming at somebody. Rah, 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 rah. I told you to buy at 23, not sell at 23, you bastard. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to knock your block off. And then the secretary walks in. Here's the report you wanted, Mr. Henderson or whatever. And he slams the phone down, looks at her, and just backhands the fuck out of her. For no reason. Because he's angry and she's a woman. Like, because you can do that. And it's not a big deal. And, yeah, dude, it's very...
part of the culture at the time. You can't change it.
Right. But I'm just saying, you know, as a disclaimer, like, when you're going...
always that, right?
Yeah, when you're going back and trying to, like, get into that... And that's not just... And like I said, it's not exclusive to comic books. It's in all, you know, media. It's just the way that it is. Because that's how things were back then. And it's very cringy. So you're going to want to kind of be expecting that type of thing if you're going to do that. I don't recommend doing it, honestly.
Well, it's like telling somebody that there's new video games to go back and, like, there are some hits, but most of them back, I mean,
they suck.
Yeah, they suck.
Like,
there's a lot of hits on the Super Nintendo and the regular Nintendo and even the Atari, but if you play the mass majority of them, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty shitty.
Right.
This is fun. I am not enjoying this.
Right. And, but I gotta say, dude, this comic issue is one of the funniest things I've ever come across in my life. Where Deadpool and the Blind Lady are in 1967 Marvel Comics. Like, it is so hilarious. And they end up in Midtown, which is where Spider-Man lives. And so in 1960s... Yeah, 1967, Spider-Man had been around for a couple of years. He was still in high school, but he was Spider-Man. And, they even send him back to a specific issue of Spider-Man. And yeah, like, it's really crazy. Like, and it's so funny because, like, people were, like, using this stupid dialogue from the 60s. They're like, oh, man, let's go to the malt shop, you know, and then stop by the sock hop. It's going to be real, you know, far out and all this. And Deadpool's like, yeah, but Deadpool's like, you can ride this dick, you know, you dumbass. Like, and they're like, hey, daddy-o, I don't really know what you're saying, but, you know, and, like, he's just constantly, like, just talking shit to him, where they're just, like, all happy and stupid, you know, like... And, like, Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn from the Spider-Man comics are one of the things that they're most well known for is what their hair looks like, because their hair looks so stupid. And, like, they even did it in the old Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s. It's just like this action figure black hair with, like, red lines in it. And it's supposed to represent curly hair. But it's, like... And it's just... It's terrible. Like, it's so stupid looking. And everyone has always thought it was stupid looking. It's just kind of been a laughing point, you know. And they just kept it going forever. Even after, like, art improved. Like, this dude's hair was just so stupid. Like... And, like, the whole time he's talking, Deadpool's like, yikes, man, like, what the hell is up with your head? Like, and then his dad walks in, and he's like, are you kidding me? There's two of them? Like, like, what is wrong with your head? He's like, look, I'm no Brad Pitt myself, man, but you gotta, like, what are you doing? Like, and... Like, not in this, when they're back in time, nothing really important happens as far as, like, the story or anything. It's just this romp through the 60s. Like,
romp through the 60s, poking fun and shit, talking shit to people.
Yeah, dude, and it's hilarious. And, like, it cracks me up, man. Like, I definitely recommend reading it. It even, and actually, if you go and find this issue, it actually has the original Spider-Man issue in its entirety in the back. So you can read them both and compare the differences.
If you have access to that digitally, send me a link. I'd be interested in reading that just for the shits and giggles of it.
Right. I do have a Marvel Unlimited subscription. I can hook you up. no offense, everybody. I don't want to give out all my info to everyone. But yeah, I could definitely. Yeah. But it is available for like $10 a month. Like it's definitely worth it if you read a lot of comics. But it's really cool. So like, eventually they end up back in the present. Hold on one sec. I'm going to mess with my settings really quick. Hey, is this party private or public? Can you privatize it? Just so, I mean, not against all our buddies, but I don't know much people like popping in and out right now. So anyway, they go back to the present and they move on. Oh yeah. Right. So they move on with their lives, you know, like, oh, we had a little fun romp through the 60s, but it's over, we're gonna move on. So, and do you remember Siren from the previous episodes we were doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Deadpool is looking for Siren. So Siren is the woman, like the good woman in Deadpool's life. The one he wants to be with is actually going to be good for him. And Typhoid Mary is like the polar opposite, you know,
right.
His party girl, you know, that's his...
Right, there you go. I was about to say something along those lines.
Yeah. And so he's traveling the world looking for Siren. And you can see what's going on with him is, you know, I'm telling you that, you know, Siren is part of a group called X Factor, which is the government-sanctioned X-Men team.
Right.
Well, because of a lot of crazy events that happen in the X-Men comics and stuff that we don't even have time to go into, mutants are on the run, and there is no X Factor anymore.
Oh, even X Factor got dissolved.
Yeah, they were like,
okay.
Mutants are out. Hell with them. And so they're trying to. So he's trying to find Siren, and he finds her in Nebraska. And basically, he asks her for help. He's like, "Look, I need help. Like, I'm trying to be a hero. I'm trying to do good things, but I don't know what's wrong with me. You know, I don't know if I'm just broken or what. You know, like, I don't want to be me."
Right.
And basically, she turns him down.
Ooh.
And she's like, "Look, I'm sorry. Like, I love you. You're a good friend of mine, but I just don't have time for this." She's like, "You know, you can't just pop in and out of my life expecting these big favors all the time." And she's like, "I've got a lot going on right now. I'm a fugitive. You know, like, I can't help you." And so Deadpool, in his sadness and depression, decides to go get hammered drunk. He's like, "Oh, you know, she don't want me, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm just gonna go get drunk." So he goes and he gets, drunk, and then he's like just kind of wandering around Nebraska, you know, and he's like walking around chugging beers, and then he runs into Siren again, and this time she shows up. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I shouldn't have like talked to you that way. Like, of course I'll help you." You know, she's like, "I love you, Deadpool." You know, and then they hook up. You know, they have sex, and
oh, plot twist.
yeah, and the next morning, Deadpool finds out that wasn't even the Siren. It was Typhoid Mary tricking him by using one of his own image inducers and making him believe that it was Siren.
Oh, plot twist again.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah. And that just like sends him completely over the edge. And like he's just in this huge rage because he thought things were finally coming together for him, you know, and he's really had like these feelings for Siren for a long time, and you know, he had like this awesome night with her, and then the next day he's like, it was Typhoid Mary just messing with his mind. And okay, and you remember Weasel?
that sounds familiar.
He's like the guy that makes Deadpool's tech and his weapons and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, yep. Now I
Okay.
remember.
Well, while Deadpool's been out doing jobs and stuff for like the past couple of months, Weasel has been like teleporting and sneaking into his house and visiting Blind Al to make sure that she's okay.
Oh, really?
And this is one mercenary going to another mercenary's house in this world is considered a huge breach of trust.
Right.
And that's your place where you get away from that world.
Right.
And also, Al, as a prisoner, one of her rules is that she's not allowed to have visitors. And Deadpool finds this out, that this has been going on, and he considers it, a major betrayal by his two closest friends, and which is ridiculous to a reasonable person. But this is Deadpool.
Right.
Okay, so he beats them up, knocks them both out, throws them both in the box.
The one that you mentioned earlier with all the traps and...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Wait. Did he invite him over, or did he just, like, catch him in the act?
No, he basically what had happened was that he had... See, both Deadpool and Weasel have a tracker on them so that they can tell where each other are in case they need saving. And Deadpool decided to go visit Weasel to kind of help clear his head. He's like, I need to go talk to one of my best buds, And Weasel was like, ooh, Deadpool is not at home. So he shows up at home, and when Deadpool gets to Weasel's house, he sees his computers and stuff with the trackers active and sees that Weasel is at his house. He's like, whoa. So he immediately teleports back home and catches them both there. And Weasel's all like, look, man, we're friends. Like, you need to calm down. It's not like you're going to kill me. And Deadpool's like, oh, really? And like I say, he beats him up, knocks him out, and throws him in the box. Which is another testament to really how not good of a person Deadpool is. He beat up a blind lady and threw her in a box, in a room full of torture shit.
Well, I love Deadpool, though. I'll just pretend to ignore that.
Right. I mean, it's part of, like, some of it you can't blame because of what he's been through, but then it's also, like, he's on this journey of redemption, and you root for him.
Right.
You root for him. And it's just, he doesn't always make it. And you're always disappointed because you really wanted him to get it together. So he leaves the house, and he's still all pissed off and stuff. And T-Ray from Hell House decides that he's finally over Deadpool. And he challenges him to a duel. And he's like, me and you, tomorrow at whatever o'clock, be there, fight to the death.
To the death?
Yeah. And Deadpool, he's in like this super self-destructive mindset right now because of everything. And he's like, you're on. Like, let's roll, man. Like, I'll destroy you. I'm Deadpool. So they start fighting. And Deadpool loses. He doesn't die because he's Deadpool. Because he's Deadpool. But he gets his ass stomped and he's very badly hurt.
Does he really, though?
Yeah. But it's because he's not, it's because of his mindset. He's not focused. He's not.
Right.
His mind is full of all these demons with Siren and Typhoid Mary and Weasel and Blind Al,
Yeah, you're definitely not able, and when you're in that kind of mindset, you're definitely not able to do well in almost anything, really.
Right.
And that includes combat.
Yeah. And, so, Weasel and Al wake up. They're in the box. Okay, Weasel was not even aware of the box at this point. So he wakes up and he's like, what is this place? You know, and Blind Al is, dude, I actually, in one of the art samples I sent you, I picked it out because the dialogue in that panel shows exactly what Blind Al's familiarity with the box is.
Let me look. Let me take a look. See, knot holes over 300 feet of chain. Is that the scene?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
She's super familiar with the box.
Right.
And Weasel is like, I'm leaving. He's like, yo, hold on, I'll get us out of here. And I was like, look, you know, if you want to leave, the door's over there. This isn't that kind of prison. This is like, I'm his prisoner, but he has me in a mental prison. You know, not, you know, you don't build a prison with, you know, traps and walls and things. And she tells Weasel the story of the first time she ever tried to escape. And basically it's, you know, she's like, I was sitting around the house, Deadpool was going off on some job in like Nicaragua, and I knew he was going to be gone for a couple of weeks. She's like, so I was like, this is my chance to get out of here. So she's like, you know, I fumbled around, finally managed to find something and use it as a cane and get myself out the door. You know, she's like, walking through town, and basically she talks about how like she started hooking to get some money to for a bus ticket to get out of.
I don't know why, but when you said hooking, I immediately thought fish hooking. Prostitution. Oh,
yeah,
that kind of hooking.
It was funny. She was like, "Yeah, I used some tricks I picked up in the Girl Scouts to get some money." And Weasel's like, "You sold cookies?" She's like, no."
She learned those in the Girl Scouts?
I mean, I'm sure it was, you know, sarcasm or something. I mean,
oh wait, you sold ha ha ha. I think I get it.
Yeah.
You sold cookies. Yeah, no. Door-to-door cookie salesman. Yeah.
Right.
I did it all for the cookie.
Right. And right, I missed her phone. So
what?
Basically, she gets a bus ticket, and she takes a bus ticket west from San Francisco to Tallahassee. And then she gets on another bus and goes north to Maine. And she's like, he shouldn't be able to find me. And she finds like this old, lifelong friend of hers from like 1 billion years ago. Tommy, this guy that like breeds dogs, you know.
Earth's crust was molten, and we had to walk with iron shoes.
I'm gonna push a hoop with a stick down a dirt road. You know, but and so she's like, I'll go meet up with Tommy. Like, he'll take me in, at least till I can get on my feet, you know. And when she gets there, she's like, first thing she notices that's wrong is that the dogs are whimpering.
Oh.
She's like, wait a minute, there's something wrong. They shouldn't be whimpering. These are like prize dogs that this guy breeds, you know. And if anything, they should be barking or panting. And then she walks into the house, and there's Deadpool standing over Tommy's body. And like, he killed him.
Oh.
And,
dude, damn, man.
Yeah, and like took her back to San Francisco. She's like, that's how you build a prison.
Yeah, if she really would seek help from me. Dude, damn. Like, I know you were painting a darker side of Deadpool, but They're just kind of hammering it home.
Yeah. For real. That's it, you know,
well, I shouldn't necessarily say a darker side. I should just say the side that most people aren't too familiar with.
Right. I mean, there's a very dark side to Deadpool, but he has a lot of redeemable qualities too. You know, it's like I said, you know, he's that kind of character. Like you want him to get his shit together. You know, like, you know, be an Avenger. You know, and all these things, and it's just not who he is. And but he's just got he's got that charming, you know, Bart Simpson quality where you want to just root for him. You know, like you want to see him get it together. But like, so Weasel, hearing this story, he's like, look, that's terrifying. But with all due respect, I'm not an old lady. I'm getting the hell out of here. Right. He's like, I'm not gonna stay in this box. So he decides to go on the run. Takes off to like Mexico or something. He doesn't really say, because Al's like, don't tell me where you're going. So he leaves, and Al, he tries to take Al with him. He's like, come with me. You know, he's like, I know people. You know, I've been part of this, like, you know, underground, you know, world, you know, with like criminals and mercenaries and stuff for a long time. You know, he's like, come with me. We'll find somewhere. And Al stops or stays, saying that there's a good side to Deadpool too, and she's not leaving until she finds it. And that's kind of like how, you know, what she decides. She's like, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna help him find his good side and you know, try to grow it. And because she cares about Deadpool, as fucked up as he is. And it's like a weird Stockholm syndrome, I guess. So like, and then you kind of like cut back to Deadpool, who was just in this big duel and lost. He's like bleeding out in the snow. And so like as he's healing, this lady, her name's Culloden, or Culloden. I forget her first name, but her last name's Culloden. And she's from that LL&L.
Right.
You know, she shows up. And she tells Deadpool, she's like, look, you have a greater destiny than what you're doing. You know, and if you come with me and come with LL&L and work for us, we'll help you find it. You know. And so he goes with her. He's like, it's the only option I really have left. So why not? So he goes with her. And LL&L hires Deadpool. But he doesn't exactly know what for. All he knows is they keep saying it's like some type of hero work, you know, but the details are still vague. And so he does that, kind of takes off for a while, and then Ajax resurfaces. And what Ajax is doing is he's hunting and killing all of the escapees from the Weapon X project. And so he's like going around like all these people and just executing them.
So he's that much of a badass. He's able to just hunt down mutants.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much. Ajax is also a mutant, by the way.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. You didn't mention that.
Yeah. Well, if you could remember the movie. No, I'm just messing up. But
no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, so Deadpool decides, like, while he's out, you know, kind of taking some time off, he decides to go do a hit job with Bullseye, just to help clear his head. They're supposed to go overthrow a dictator.
Wait, Bullseye, as in Daredevil's Bullseye?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. See, Deadpool and Bullseye go way back. They've been assassinating people together for decades. And that should tell you just how badass these guys are. Somebody like you want a dictator overthrown, you hire these two dudes, like, and really just one. Like Deadpool just kind of came along. It's like, hey, I'll help. And so, and while he's out, Ajax stops by the Hell House. Like, I'm looking for Deadpool. And everybody in the Hell House is like, yeah, man, fuck Deadpool. Like, we hate him. You know, they completely denounce him. And like, he's not welcome here. And like, in fact, we got a personnel file on him. You can have it. And, you know, so Ajax is continuing his hunt, looking for Deadpool. And Deadpool is, you know, he's working with LL&L. And
trying to turn over a leaf.
Yeah. Right. And the main boss of LL&L reveals to one of the lackeys. They're talking about Deadpool. They're like, I really think he can do this, like blah blah mystery job, whatever, you know, and all these things. And he reveals to this guy, he's like, look, we need him to do it. And if he can't do it, we're just gonna kill him. Like, if he can't do this work we need him to do, like, then he's of no use to anyone, and we're just gonna kill him. Because he's Deadpool and he's trash. So they're not as, you know, high and mighty as their actors. And so you got all these, you got a lot of moving parts here. You got a lot of things going on at once. And so Ajax finds Dr. Kilbrew. You know, and he's like, I know you helped Deadpool. Yeah, I need you. I know you lured him here. I need you to do it again. And Kilbrew's like, I don't do those kinds of things anymore. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. You know, I'm blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And so basically he just tortures him. He just tortures the shit out of him, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And he's like, and then eventually he cracks. He's like, all right, you know, I don't know where he is, but I know how you can find him. He uses a teleporter, you know, and here's like the energy signature that it gives off. You can use it to locate him. And yeah, I just got that same invite, by the way. But we're getting close to finish.
Cool.
So Ajax knows where Deadpool is now. And so LL&L, they finally reveal what it is that they want Deadpool to do. And basically what their goal is that they have these precogs at LL&L, these like weird little mutant guys that can see the future. And there was a, I guess, prophecy or vision or whatever about one of the precogs, and it said that there was an entity in space heading towards Earth that was supposedly bringing like this new age of enlightenment on Earth, and that Deadpool is essential to this being a success. Yes. And I said, we need you. Deadpool freaks out. He's like, I'm not that kind of hero. You got the wrong guy. There's no way. Like, I was thinking like beat up a mugger, you know. Like, there's no way that I am, you know, prophetic herald to like a weird space messiah. It's not me. Oh shit, I just killed a guy. I was hanging out of a chopper and shot a guy that was on the roof. But anyway, so he's like, you know, that's not me. They take Deadpool to one of the precogs, and they're like, here, talk to the guy that had the vision. You know, he'll convince you. And they're talking, and, you know, and Deadpool's like, I'm just not convinced, you know. And then the precog gives Deadpool kind of like a little prophecy thing. He's like, look, these 3 things will happen to you. I'm going to predict a little bit of your future. And they're all cryptic and everything with it. You know, it's not like you're going to stop at Costco and pick up some ham. You know, it's just like really cryptic shit. But he's like, you know, when these 3 things come to pass, you'll know that I speak the truth. And the 3 things. Number 1, he says, you will close the door to the sharpest edge of your soul and open a bitter heart.
Ooh.
Number 2, the kiss of death will mean a lease on life to a walking ghost. And in number 3, in the coldest circle of hell, the devil will teach you mercy.
Damn, man.
And when those 3 things, yes, it's like when those 3 things come to pass, you'll know I speak the truth. So Deadpool leaves. He's like, I don't believe you. Deadpool leaves, and he goes home, and he feels really bad about how he's been treating Al. So he boards up the box to never be used again, to make peace with Al.
Right.
And what he doesn't realize initially is that by doing that, that first cryptic clue has come to pass.
Right.
Because you will close the door to the sharpest edge of your soul and open a bitter heart.
Open a bitter heart being Al.
Yes. Because he asked her for forgiveness, and she said, "I'll never forgive you."
Damn, there it is.
And so he boarded up the box. And then, like, he's all emotional, and he's like, "You know what? I'm just gonna let her go, man." And so he goes to tell her, "Al, you're free." But like halfway through like their conversation, Deadpool's teleporter activates and takes him away to an unknown location.
Oh shit! Ding.
And it's not revealed, but I'm sure we can assume that that's Ajax's doing.
What you bring?
Right.
Enemy
what
team
I
is tracking your
Yeah.
position.
I mean, there's no reason to believe otherwise. But yeah, that's pretty much the synopsis of
We'll leave it off there.
the
Then.
Deadpool things for this week. Also, if you're listening to this now, I do have a special treat for you.
Hopefully it's not blue cheese Polish sausages.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, so we have, for our listeners and viewers and stuff, we have 2 free Deadpool-themed iPad cases for giveaways. To enter in to win one of them, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and enter a comment saying that you did those things, and we'll confirm it. And you will be entered. We'll do like a kind of like a drawing type thing, I'm assuming, and we'll pick 2 people, and they will receive a free iPad case of Deadpool iPad case.
Right on, man.
Right.
But hey, for anybody else listening, I can also vouch for the authenticity. It's not just I'm sure you're actually going to be entered into a drawing for that. But you said they had to do a comment as well. That way
Yes. Yes.
That's so you can track both, right?
Yes. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube and leave a comment. Either on either one or on both. But it's going to be going on until the end of our Deadpool discussion next week. So you have the week to watch this video, and then after we finish the final part, the part 4 of Deadpool next week, is when we will announce and do the drawing and all that stuff, and get you a cool prize. I mean, it's not some super car giveaway or something like a lot of companies and stuff do, but it's a pretty cool little nerd apparel. If you're into Deadpool, if you got an iPad, I mean, it's pretty sweet.
Hey, winner, chicken dinner. Nothing says better than free.
Free 99.
Free 99.
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to that. I'd love to see how many people are going to try to, get in on that.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, man, it's been nice talking to you. I'm about to go cook some dinner, but just to elaborate on the blue cheese Polish sausage thing. I bought some of these sausages that are blue cheese and buffalo. resource for the next week. So I'm
Your teammate was sent to the gulag. They'll fight for a chance.
It was one of our fiercest debates.
I was so sure I was going to like it because I like Buffalo and I like Blue Cheese.
I was like, there's no way you're gonna like this, dude. There's no way.
I'm pretty sure I acquainted it to take the shower curtain.
Oh wow, we already got a follower on Twitter. Hey, people are gonna be jumping on this. If you want a free iPad case, man, jump on it.
If you survive, you earn your freedom.
But alright, Benicio, it's been good. I'm gonna hop out of the party, man. Take it easy.
Alright.
I'll see you next time.
Peace.
Go sort this fucker out.
And for the viewers and stuff out there, if you need the information, like I said, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter is Story Mode Gaming at Story Mode _live. Our YouTube channel is Story Mode Live Gaming. We have our logo on both of those. It's kind of like the black logo with the red story mode, and then like the white press start with the controller. Those types of things. So follow us, subscribe to us, leave a comment, get you some cool merch, man. I mean, there's nothing wrong with free iPad case, that's for sure. But that's gonna do it for us this week. I hope you guys have been enjoying this podcast. I really do. I hope you've enjoyed this Deadpool discussion series. I've had a hell of a time doing it. I know Nocturnal has also. I've had a good time. We're going back and reading these comics and stuff again, man. Like, I've been, laughing my ass off, having a great time. Reading really good stories. You're gonna want to check us out next week, man, because next week we're doing the part four of 4 Deadpool discussion series with the Deadpool giveaway of the iPad cases. You're not going to want to miss it. And in the meantime, we're definitely going to be coming at you with some other content too. I'm definitely going to be doing some more Heavy Rain Let's Plays. There's going to be a lot more Call of Duty Warzone with Talent Prize going to be jumping in on that. And just stick around, man. And as always, if you got any suggestions or you got anything you want to check out, leave us a comment. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Once again, it's Story Mode Live Gaming. We're on Twitter. It's Story Mode Gaming at Story Mode _live. Or if you need to, if social media is not really your bag, email us directly. StoryModeGamesOfficial@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm excited. I can't wait, honestly. But I'm a freaking Marvel nerd. That's just who I am, always have been. But I'm freaking amped. Can't wait. Hope I see you guys around. Peace. And as always, press start.